Welcome back, folks, for episode number 3 of our vibe coding series. So this is the conclusion of the series, and we're going to get right into it because I want to save some time at the end for some bonus material, such as creating a business proposal based on our website and the copy we've come up with, and really starting to flesh out the preliminary phases of actual business development versus just an idea or a domain purchase. That doesn't really make a business. It's a good start, and it's not necessarily that you have to do it in this sort of linear way, but I want to make sure that we have a cohesive structure that will lend itself well to actually making money, because that's really what this is all about. Yes, there's a philanthropic side to it, but this is a business, and businesses are all about making money. We can do all nice things in the world while we're making money, but if the business is not profitable, it's not going to be sustainable. So when we're done with all our copy and everything, what I'd like to do is run it through AI, possibly more than one, and just get a sense for, is anyone actually doing this? Now that we've structured it in a way that is descriptive and self-explanatory, does it work? Will it work? What competition exists? What barriers are there to entry? And what can we stand to possibly make in terms of money? If we can at least get an idea of what the next 6 months to a year looks like, are we going to be making money, losing money, breaking even? These are all important things to factor in. First thing I want to do is go over all the copy and make sure that it's as strong as it can be. The next thing I wanted to do after that is maybe consider adding some images. Right now it's basically just text and a couple of cards. It'd be nice to have vibrant imagery in here. If we can find a picture, preferably not something AI generated, but stock pictures of a big pile of those things, cannabis packaging piled up. I've seen a few of these pictures. I don't know if we'll be able to get the rights for them, but someone made a mountain on their desk of what a year's worth of cannabis products looks like for a daily consumer. It was just insane, the amount of trash and waste. I just hate that stuff. And it speaks to it right here. From waste stream to mainstream, the consumerist society and the amount of packaging really irks me. Alright, so first of all, this is in 4K, right? So remember that. What you're looking at right now may not be the same view as what you're seeing in 1080p. So we have to make sure to quality check that across the board, which we'll do towards the end of our build. We're pretty much done here. It's insane how quickly the actual web development happens. The app development. So I want to see if we can shrink this down a little bit first. I'm going to use Claude just because I like its writing style better. Just before I close this tab, I wanted to point out that I'm seriously considering going ahead with this business only because of the domain. It's just fantastic, and I even like the greencraft.art as a premium, so I'm still strongly considering purchasing those two. We'll see. I'm not there yet, but I just wanted to say that I did settle on those. This part is not terribly long, but I'd like to get it down by 5 words. Keep the overall message intact. How we're going to test this is I'm just going to go over to this tab, and instead of putting it in Notepad and copying it over every time, we're going to double click. Oh, and let me back up for anybody that is new and is trying to follow along. So we hit either F12 to bring up our developer tools, or we can right click on the element that we want to edit or inspect and then hit inspect. Find whichever one highlights. You can see it behind there. I can expand it or double click, and then I'm going to double click on the text and add the new text. Hit enter, and it's updated in real time. That didn't really do anything. I don't see a difference here. What's going on? I don't think that copied over. Yeah, I don't know what that did, but let's try this one. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to push it down by a line either. Got rid of our orphan word. Is it going to always stick to 3 lines? No, because on mobile it won't, probably. That's ideally what we want, but that's not necessarily what's going to happen here. Now, notice how we have lots of real estate. I'm just going to check what it looks like. Okay, it looks great on 1080p. There's not as much room on 1080p as I would like to do, like what I wanted to do on 4K, but I'm going to forego that for now because we're focusing mainly on the copy. What I want it to do is add either a banner image or some type of other imagery here. There's nothing other than the logo. The green strip at the bottom is kind of bugging me. That's part of the next section, which shouldn't be the case. It should all be fitting on one screen. Actually, let's ask Claude if he can. I'm going to start a new chat. Remember, always start a new chat if you want to start fresh. I almost forgot to copy this to my notepad. It's not going to work if we don't actually copy it over. We're going to find waste into wonder, transforming. I actually want this all on one line. I don't really like when it does that. I know why it does it, because it wants to make it more convenient, but ends up being the opposite. I like to have it all on one line, but there's the hero description, so that's been updated. And yeah, we have our updated text here. Let's save that. Another thing to consider is your code that you feed from Notepad+ to Claude has to be the most updated code. So you have to do things in a systematic way. The hero section should all fit into one screen regardless of the view or device being used. Right now I'm getting a very different view and distribution of the elements on 4K versus 1080p. How can we standardize this across the board? I want all the hero elements to appear, including the... Is it even a CTA button? What is it? Where did my... Learn our story. So it's not really a CTA. I guess it is, but it's not like your conventional marketing CTA. This is learning more about our story, what we're about, what we do. And then what was the other CTA button? Become an artist. So that's inviting people to join our community, which that could be the PMA now that I think about it. The partnership with the artists. It gives me ideas. So yeah, it's unconventional in that way because we're not necessarily trying to sell anything. We're just trying to create a name for ourselves at this point. It's a different type of business. If you're selling something, a service or a product, it would be more like your expert voice showing you examples of a product and a service that you could... Your website build is going to be very different with those, obviously. So this would be closer to maybe a nonprofit. Now, another clear indicator of AI is the overuse of the word transform. I keep seeing this word everywhere. Transforming, transform. There's other words to use here. Transforming cannabis packaging. I don't want to break my head open. I can always just ask Claude. Transforming cannabis packaging into functional art. That's really what you're doing. Do we want to say it differently? Usually the stuff I'm trying to build is services or products that are transforming something, so it tends to use that verb. Transforming cannabis packaging. You could say turning cannabis packaging into functional art, or upcycling. Why don't we use that? Let's see what it looks like. Upcycling cannabis packaging into functional art. Functional may not be the right word here either. Practical art? Functional art? I understand what it was trying to say now. Like a wallet or a case, a tin, is both art and functional. So that makes sense. We're just trying to strengthen the main copy at this point. Even this, like, waste into wonder. I don't know if I'm sold on that wording, but let's elevate it. Waste into wonder, upcycling cannabis packaging into functional art. It's very descriptive. I'd maybe cut down on a few words, if not a whole line. Thousands of tons of cannabis packaging end up in landfills yearly. I want all the hero elements, including the read our story button, to appear on the landing page. The tagline has not been updated, so I need to remember that. Here's an issue with AI coding. You're going to run into this at one point or another, and unless code, not a big deal. But it doesn't usually tell you, and I get pretty frustrated with ChatGPT especially for this, it doesn't tell you what you're supposed to replace, what you're supposed to add to your style sheet, what you're supposed to remove. It just gives you, hey, here's the code I fixed. Okay, what do I do with it? Even if I read through it, it doesn't tell me what to do. It just told me what it did in the code, which doesn't necessarily tell me where to put it. For example, let's say it just updated the style sheet, which it looks like that's all it did. So let's say all it wants me to do is update hero h1. So if I search for that, Why don't I just update this while I'm at it before I forget. Upcycling, what did we say? Upcycling cannabis packaging into functional art. We'll come back to that later. We were looking for .hero h1. Okay, there's hero section. Now, do I just copy this whole thing? With Claude, I would say yes. It looks like it's trying to have me replace the whole hero section, but if I wanted to confirm CTA button, it is a CTA button. It's just not an actual CTA. Okay, so CTA hover is not being changed. So I just update the CSS with what you provided and overwrite those, replace everything. Sometimes it refers to things that just are not there on the screen. I only see one code block. Let me copy this first and I'll take care of that while it figures out what the hell's going on. Down to here. CTA button was not changed. Did that work? That's the cleanest paste I've ever seen in my life. Usually I have to tab things over and fix the code, but it just clean pasted it. Amazing. My apologies for the confusion. I used the update function, which modified the artifacts directly. You don't need to manually copy anything. Changes have already been applied to the HTML document. No, I'm not seeing the media part. Replace them with the second block I provided. I don't understand. This is an example of where when it starts doing stuff like this, go to a new chat, start over. Okay, so that part's updated. I'll just update the whole code, even though it takes longer. You run into these problems. This is what takes up a lot of the time. It's not even the building or the coding, it's the troubleshooting. Make sure the media for the hero section allows for all the hero elements to appear on one screen at once, including the CTA button, even on mobile. The 4K and 1080p views should be updated now, but double check those too. Now it should provide me, I'll even tell it, update the entire code for me. Let's see. No, it's not doing it. It's going to do the same thing as last time. Update the entire code for me now. I'll even paste it again. There we go, finally. That's got the transforming still, though. I have to fix that. Upcycling sounds way better. Cannabis waste into art. Maybe we don't even need to say functional art. Just say art. The fewer words we can use to describe, the better. I'm even wondering if we need the word collective in there. Greencraft, maybe just Greencraft, upcycling cannabis waste into art. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. We could say 5 words and explain the whole business. The collective thing is not really adding anything to it. The partnership with the artists is like a bonus. I'll find artists, that's not a problem. I'd like to welcome community artists to join and participate, but I don't think the collective part needs to be emphasized, so I might actually just lighten that part of it. And maybe even in the logo, now that I'm looking at it, it could just be Greencraft. Greencraft.eco. That's such a good URL. Alright, so it's done. Let's see what it did. I'm going to load it and test it on the site directly. Just as a reminder, for anybody that didn't see the last one, you should really go and watch those first 2 episodes because you're not going to know what the heck's going on here. But we're loading our index file. I've just updated it on Notepad+. There we go. Bring up our preview. Oh yeah. It looks fine on 4K, but why is it so squished? I wish it would just fill up the space. Why would it not take up more room? Unless I use that extra space now that everything's tightened up, which is not terrible if we're using the extra space. What does it look like on 1080p? That doesn't look like what I see on my monitor below here at all. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it's tricky because on the 1080p, there's not that much room for a banner. On 4K, there's plenty of room. On mobile, there's probably no room at all, and it's probably cutting off the button. It looks like Claude actually fixed that. It's not terrible, but I gotta think there's better ways of doing this with the text instead of reducing it like that. I'm gonna have to do some research and see how do you allow the font size and the padding to fill up as much space as possible. There's probably a command or something that I'm not using, or something's not set up right. Anyway, back to the collective thing. I'm almost wondering if we can just remove collective from Greencraft and just have it say Greencraft. I think that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to make that change. I'm going to also look into adding a banner image and see if we can do that. I think that'll really clean up the hero section. The green is also not showing anymore, which is nice. And then if I test on my laptop screen, yeah, looks fine. It's all looking pretty good, actually. I say that. The footer is going to need some work. Looks not right. But let's see if we can get these two things going. Before we continue, because I do want to finish in this episode, we have to finish the copy. We have to finish the logo and the banner. And then there's a couple other things I want to do. And we're already almost halfway through the video, so I better get at her. So we're going to cut this part out of the video. You don't need to watch me work on this. We've already done that in episodes 1 and 2. So I'm going to do some quick graphic design. We'll come back and see how it turned out. Alright, so I've made several changes to the site here. It's always good to review what Claude or any AI does for you to make sure that it's not screwing things up, because I can't tell you how many times I've had it change words or padding and it just messes up all kinds of other stuff for some reason and just breaks the site. So this looks pretty good. I had it create a placeholder image for me here. I fixed the logo graphic, so that should be optimized now in terms of size and not have the collective below it. I also considered maybe this could be like an upcycling packaging in general business, not just cannabis, but then I looked into it and the niche play would actually work out in our favor according to Claude's research. So we're going to lean into that. I'm curious to see how this is all going to come together. So I'm going to copy this over to my notepad here and save it. We're going to replace the file again and let's see how it all turned out. Alright, refresh. Alright, so the banner image is not bad, it's just not the right size. Not exactly what I was hoping to accomplish here. But just for the sake of time, we're going to leave it. Obviously, I would spend some more time refining. I'm not a graphic designer. I can do some graphic design. I'm not a web developer. I can do some web development. I'm not a coder. If anything, I'm a jack of all trades. Sometimes, as a jack of all trades, you need to research one particular area because your generalism is not really doing you any favors for things like this. So I'm going to have to research how to create a proper responsive banner image. But for the purposes of this demonstration, the hero section's all appearing on 1080p. It's all appearing on 4K, even though I don't really like how squished it is. If we look at it real quick on mobile, it looks decent, enough that I'm willing to tolerate it for the time being. And really, the only thing left is to just refine the copy. So if we go through the whole site one more time, our mission, one container at a time. The cannabis industry generates an environmental footprint that's growing faster than recycling infrastructures can handle. We're here to change that by creating a circular economy where waste becomes opportunity. Yeah, and when it's explained in that sense of a circular economy, it totally makes sense. I just don't like the graphic. Now here's one place where immediately I'm going to make some changes. First of all, I want all of this to be roughly the same length. Let's use this one as our baseline since there's no M dash and it's a good size. I'm going to have to use ChatGPT now, unfortunately. We'll start a new chat, add 3 more words to this and remove the M dash. Yeah, just a comma's fine. I don't know why it insists on using M dashes all the time. This is in the 3-way section, just so you can see how I'm coding this. I can hardly even call this coding, but it said 3-way, so that's what I'm looking for. If I don't want to search, I can just type 3-way. There it is. The P is the paragraph we're trying to replace here. We added 3 more. It's approximately the same length as this one, the middle one, which is perfect. It's exactly what we wanted. While I'm here, might as well get this one here, and that one will need to be reduced probably by 2 to 3 words. Let's start by 2 words. I don't want to overdo it either. There we go. That might actually still be too long. Cannabis packaging market is projected to reach $9.3 billion by 2030, creating thousands of tons of waste annually. Even recyclable packaging often ends up in landfills because it's contaminated or lacks proper recycling infrastructure. I'm not even going to bother. I'll take out the M dash, but these orphan words, they're still there on 1080p, but I'll bet you if we look at it on like a mobile view, they'll start to disappear. We can't get hung up on those things. In my content development work, those are things I have to look for. I'm obsessive with spotting those things and correcting them, but here I have to tell myself not to and just leave it be. There's only so much finagling you can do. It's never going to get perfect. Not across all the views anyway. But I am going to fix that M dash because I can just switch that to a comma and fix that very easily. Local artists transform cleaned containers into unique pieces, hand-painted, embellished, and reimagined as functional art. How does that look? That's fine. Look at that. Even pushed it down a notch. So that's good there. There's some more that we can easily fix. To be honest with you, this doesn't need 2 paragraphs, I think. Powered by local creativity is fine. Let's just ask this horrible train wreck of an AI that is ChatGPT to... I used to love it, that's the thing. This can be... Oops, I don't want to yell at it. This can... Maybe I do. This can be reduced to 1 solid paragraph. Try to say the same things more succinctly. Let's try it out before we make any changes. Each work tells a story of transformation from waste to wonder, from overlooked to cherished. A simple comma looks better, I think. More cohesive. This doesn't necessarily need to be centered, but it'll look better on mobile, so I'm just going to keep it. Become an artist partner. That takes us down here. I needed a contact section. This is going to go to, or the way I would set it up, like I'm acting as though this is an actual business that I'm going to launch. Maybe I will, but we'll see. If I were to, this would go to the Google form. There's nothing really to do here. The rest is basically done. I'm going to make that change in my notepad before I forget. Powered by local creativity. Let's find that M dash and replace it with a simple comma. Happy little comma. I want to be the Bob Ross of vibe coding. Just happy little clouds and elements everywhere. They needed a happy little friend. So the last little section I'm going to focus on here, I'm not going to do the whole footer. The way I could fix this and clean it up, because it was coming in a little wonky on the 1080p, is I would just probably delete one of these columns. Like, this doesn't all need to be here. If I wanted to go into the collective, which we're not really going to talk about that much anymore, I could do that here. Just mention that there is a collective of local artists working together, but this column doesn't need to be here. I could probably even reduce these down even further, like quick links. That doesn't even need to be there. So really, it's just these two, and some of this needs to be replaced too, because I need a legal section. So that's how I would fix this. The rest is actually fine. I'm not a big fan of these huge footers, but in this case, I'm just going to leave it because it's fine as an example. The last section that we can look at is this, and I think it's fine. I would actually add a couple more of these. I'm going to have to do this manually because I'm out of time. Oh no, look at that. Claude is back as of 1 a.m. So let's get this latest version uploaded. Don't have to use ChatGPT anymore, thank God. It's really not that bad, but it is in a way. Can't count how many times it's frustrated me lately. Let's copy the code over to Claude. Oh, I don't know what we were doing there, so let's start over as we do. No, that's not the case. Go away message, thank you. So let's paste our code. Update the attached code for me with 2 more cards for this section. I could send a picture as well, but I think just the words will suffice. I love the trees planted thing. If I was running this business, that's totally what I would do. Dispensaries partnered. These are just fake metrics. And also those cards, maybe I'll be more specific here. What are these? Let's inspect. And they are impact grid, impact number, impact item. The impact items background is the same color as the section background, which makes them hard to read. Please use a different background for the impact items using a Tari color. I forgot we wanted to redo the color palette for the site, but honestly, I think it's fine. It's not the most eye-popping site in the world, but it's not really intended to be. It's just supposed to get the message across. I can already tell it's not going to do what I asked it to do. Update the entire code for me, please. Yeah, it didn't give me the HTML. I don't know why it does that. There's no other artifact, so I don't understand what it thinks it's doing. Update the entire code for me, please. And I'm going to give it the code again, just in case it gets confused and starts using old code. After repeated attempts, it's finally doing its thing. Also, before I forget, I'm going to have to come through here and make sure that my copy is all consistent and reflecting the same message, title, description. Adding some metadata up here at the top doesn't hurt either for SEO. That's more advanced stuff that I didn't want to get into in this video or in this series, but still good for you to know. You can add several more meta tags here that will provide previews, for example. If I were to share the link to this page with somebody, it's not going to have that preview that opens up like when you see on social media or instant message applications. We want a Twitter card or other social media cards to pop up for link previews. That's more advanced in the HTML head section, but look into that if you're curious and want to implement that kind of stuff. Let's see what Claude's up to. Are you done? Looks like you are. Okay. So before I upload this last file here, because we're going to call it good after this, before I do that though, I'm going to quickly look at where we can update this. So I want it to say the same message every time, which is upcycling cannabis packaging into functional works of art. I want to use that same messaging everywhere. So up here, it's no longer a collective, right? It was green craft and then this. And we probably also want to search for collective. Remove that. Green craft collective. Here, this message we can leave, actually. The transforming, it's okay to have it there once in a while. Yeah, I actually like the way that's worded, so we're going to leave that. Any other collective? Oh, here. Dispensary partnership, artist applications, shop our collect. Oh, I see. It's in the fake email address. Got it. Shop our collection. Eventually, sure. Every container not rescued but upcycled. Planet saving, transforming. Each year thousands learn our story. Transforming cannabis into waste. Perfect. Alright, saving, replacing the file, and we're going to take one last look before calling it good. As I said before, I like to run it through at least one AI. Maybe we'll ask Claude, since the time resumed here, we'll ask it to do a final review for us with the actual site. And let's just do one scan with our own eyes first. So turning waste into wonder. That we agreed that was the best header for the hero section. Upcycling cannabis packaging into functional works of art. Perfect. Each year thousands of tons of cannabis packaging ends up in landfills. We partner with local dispensaries, transforming into beautiful functional art pieces. I want to say works of art here. It just sounds better for me. That was my original wording. Probably why. Art pieces just doesn't roll off the tongue. Functional works of art. Discover our story below. Yeah, that looks better. Sounds better. It's still 3 lines, but I think that's acceptable. We have lots of room here. Lots of buffer space if we want to adjust this later. But banner image, hero section, I think this is all great. Just a couple little tweaks you could possibly make. Just giving this a little bit more gap, more breathing room. Adjusting the banner image. Otherwise, everything's fine here. Here's our new mission statement. Everything looks good. From waste stream to mainstream. I like that. Hopefully this is helping you to get an idea of how easy coding can be. It's really not that difficult, and especially with AI now doing most of the work for us, and we're just the QA in the equation. That just allows us to spend more time with our creativity and doing what we love to do. So it's been a blessing. Alright, so that's going to clean that up nicely. This was supposed to go to a Google form, but I'm not going to bother doing that now. There's no point. These almost look like they want to be clickable, but for now, this will do just fine. We could even set up some type of animation here so that when we hover our mouse over it, they enlarge slightly, but I don't even think that's necessary. Our environmental impact, what did it add here? 2,400 plus containers. I wish that was true. Soon it will be, perhaps. 850 trees planted, that would be so fantastic. I'd love to be among the people planting those as well. 35 local artists supported, that would do my heart such good. 5 dispensary partners, awesome. 11,000 pounds of waste diverted, that's an awesome number. And then 98% customer satisfaction rate. I think people that support this cause are going to be mostly 100% satisfied, so I don't really like that one. We're speaking to artists, we're speaking to the partners, the dispensaries, we're not speaking to the recyclers. And while I don't want them to be part of my brand, they can be part of the mission statement or other sections here. So let's actually change this one with old Claude boy here. Okay. This is not really a good metric for this business on that section of the site. I'd rather state how many recycler and waste management services we're working with, but we already mentioned partnering, specifically using that word. Let's see what it gives us here for that. It still updated it, which I didn't want it to do. Did it update the whole thing? Yeah, I think it did. So I'm just going to find that section. 8 recycling and waste management partners. We can just update that ourselves. So let's find this section and do a little bit more coding one last time. This becomes an 8. This becomes too long. Dispensary partners, recycling contacts, maybe? That's going to be too long, and I don't want it to be 2 lines. Recycling, or maybe waste management partners. Waste management contacts? Let's just ask Claude. We're not really working directly with the waste management people, I don't think. We already use partners for the dispensaries, so is that okay? Maybe it doesn't matter, because that's what they are. Yeah, that one's good. Because it's not necessarily a company. It could be someone like a picker or a scrapper, right? Who comes upon these all the time, but it's not even worth my time like collecting these things. They would get like a fraction of a cent per, so it's not even worth their time to collect them. If they collected them for me for 50 cents a piece, that might be more of an incentive to collect them as they find them and just throw them in a backpack or something, and then when it gets full, bring them over and I'll give you 50 bucks. So that's what I'm going to do, but it also could include companies or businesses that focus on recycling. Alright, it fits, but something seems off about it here. I feel like the numbers should go in descending order. So 2400 plus would be the first one. Actually, this would be the first one. Maybe we even want to put the number full so that it has a greater impact. Pretty much ready to wrap up here. There's just a couple more things I want to cover with you guys. 12,000. Yeah, I'm going to spell it out. 12,000 pounds of waste diverted. 2,400 containers rescued. I just prefer the word upcycled because it's more representative of what we're doing. Upcycled. Rescued makes it sound like we're rescuing animals from the dump, like it's not accurate. 850. Really hope to get past that number for trees planted. But this goes here, and then that looks good. Alright, I think that was the last change that we needed to make. If you don't stop, you just keep going and going. You're going to keep nitpicking, and at some point you're like undoing some work that you did. So I'm going to call that good. I'm going to take one last look at it. Then we're going to have Claude analyze it, and then after that we're pretty much ready to wrap up here. The business, what is going on with this? How many times do I need to update that? Did I miss something here? What happened? Miniature art. What? When you start getting tired too, that's when you have to stop. Because yeah, so I think I just forgot to take out this other paragraph here. That's probably what it was. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. Much better. Big numbers at first. Yeah, I like that. 12,000, 2,400, 850, 3585. Great. Yeah, this looks good. And that was what? That's not even a day. That's like half a day. Not even. I've been at it now for, including breaks, like 3.5 hours, maybe 4 tops. So you're talking half a day to get to this point. The remaining time, let's say 3.5 hours. The remaining 30 minutes, let's give ourselves a buffer for the domain work that we did, and then the extra time that it would have taken to actually register that domain and then to point the domain to our website, which is very simple. It's just a matter of connecting the domain wherever you're hosting it, and then you're just pointing the records there. Very easy process, very fast. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think that I've proven my point. Hopefully you learned a few things, and you saw other examples, right? You saw Aura Gifts, you saw Your Expert Voice. If you want other examples of ones that I've worked on, turtlyman.com is another one. It's easier to just show you at this point real quick. So imagine a website made for a gamer or a clan or a guild. That's the idea here with this guy's latest stream. It's all turtle theme, it's all green, it all looks like Ninja Turtles. This one took me probably more like a full day because I really wanted to polish it up nicely, and I'm super happy with it. See how fantastic it looks on 4K though. I'm always developing for 4K because I like that nice, big, lots of real estate on the big screen. Another example would be Rapid Course Co. This was all developed in the same way. Static page. That's a really nice one too. Even has a portfolio section, a mega menu, some testimonials at the bottom. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this one. Even the about section is pretty sharp. Here, the invert one gets me every time. Alright, what else? Maple Grove. Can't forget Maple Grove. This one was supposed to be like an 80s, 90s theme. If you want to see these all in detail, I think I cover these in a 2-part series that I made on the channel about No More Web Builders. When I discovered how to build these type of static pages in HTML, I stopped using web builders completely, and I made 2 videos explaining the difference between them, why I made the transition to building my own pages, and why you don't want to get stuck on a web building platform because the money adds up very fast, and it sucks to have your content stuck on a platform like that and you can't retrieve it after. Rebuilding it from scratch is a nightmare, trust me. So those are some examples, but let's end here by running this through Claude. I just want to see at a very high level, analyze this website and let me know if you think that, 1, it's a viable business model, it's effectively communicating the problem that that the business is solving, and the value that the website effectively communicates the problem and the solution that it's solving, as well as the overall value and ecological impact. How's the copy? How are the sections? Is it all laid out optimally? These are just some ideas of what you can have it check. You could probably even find a checklist of what you should be looking for in a functional website. That'd probably be a better idea. What about accessibility concerns? I just want to see also what it's going to suggest. What about SEO? Any other recommendations? Highs, lows? Maybe I'll put that here. Highs, lows, areas of improvement, future proofing opportunities. Anything else? I'd like to leave it like an open floor. Alright, see what it comes up with. You could do an extended think here as well, but I don't think it's necessary. Business model viability, strengths. Addresses a real environmental problem, yes. Taps into growing markets, sustainable products, cannabis industry, multi-revenue potential, product sales, artist partnerships, B2B. Social impact angle appeals to conscious consumers. Concerns, supply chain complexity, coordinating dispensaries, Cleaning operations, artists, and sales is operationally intensive. Yeah, that is a good point. It would have to be done in stages. At first, if it's just me doing it, I would do it in a small scale and then try to form a small team to help me. Once we grow beyond that, have a sort of conveyor belt or maybe even a factory of sourcing, cleaning, like all in stations. And even at the small scale at the beginning, even if you're doing 50, 100 crafts a month, you could establish a process, standard operating procedures that could scale, is what I'm saying. So that is a good concern, but I think I can alleviate that one. Margin challenges, labor-intensive cleaning, sanitation. Again, if the standard operating procedures are refined and scalable enough, that would take care of this. We're talking about a local business here. It would take some time to get to that, and it's not that type of business. So I get the concern here for margins, but as a smaller operation, I think the margins would be quite healthy, like a 50 to 70% margin. How do you scale handmade, one of a kind? It's not really something that will scale beyond a certain point intentionally by design. At some point, it would probably be better to sell it. Niche within a niche. Eco-conscious, cannabis adjacent, functional art buyers. If somebody just likes the piece, they're not going to care if it's eco-conscious. That might just be a bonus that it came from cannabis waste. Regulatory concerns, contamination that's easily fixed with proper cleaning. No pricing visible. No clear artist compensation model. No details on cleaning process costs. That would come in the next phase of the business. Interesting concept, but needs clearer unit economics and operational documentation. I totally agree with that. Problem solution communication. Very strong, it looks like here. Opens with clear, compelling value. Nice numbers, nice figures. 4-step process, triple impact. What's missing? No visual proof. What are the before and after photos? Of course, that's going to come with time when you actually have that, right? I'm not actually doing it as a business, or else I would put those on there. I'd add a gallery or a carousel with those. Even just the artist's renditions would be nice to see what they made. The artist pieces would be super nice to see on a gallery. Quantify the impact. Thousands of tons is vague. How many containers have you diverted? Those numbers can get more refined. Why cannabis packaging specifically? What makes it different from other packaging waste? There's a tremendous amount of it, and recently it's increased quite a lot, and it's probably going to increase even more over time. So it's at least one area that, even if it is niche, it's at least helping some part of environmentalism in a tangible way. And then the cleaning safety process is crucial for credibility, but barely explained. If I had a proprietary cleaning process, I would go into detail about it. That's a good point. Ecological impact mentioned but not deeply deployed. I would lean more heavily on that for sure. Copy and layout analysis. Copy quality, tone, warm, aspirational, mission-driven. Clarity, generally clear, though some phrases feel generic. Healing the planet. Specific issues. Captain Planet. Turning waste into wonder. Catchy but overused in sustainability marketing. Missing call to action. What should I do next? Shop, partner, sign up. No artist profiles. These are more suggestions than critiques on the website. I'm encouraged by this because it means we did pretty well. No customer testimonials, social proof. Yeah, that comes with time. That comes with actually running the business. Section assessment. Hero. Good hook but needs a CTA. Problem statement solid with data. Process. Clear 4-step breakdown. Impact. Listed but not visualized. 5. Artist section. Nice sentiment, but no actual artist spotlights. That would come. Missing sections. Here we go. Product gallery shop. Exactly. Pricing. About the founders. Contact partnership forms. FAQ. Basically, oh yeah, accessibility concerns too. Feels very text heavy. Really? Yeah, I suppose it is. There's not a lot of visuals at all. He's right. This one page could be broken up into multiple menu items. Instead of it being a one-pager and having it just scroll down the page as anchors, some of these could be grouped on a separate page. That would give us more room in the menu for things like testimonials, about section, all the more conventional website stuff. And then accessibility concerns, likely problems, no alt text, or not enough alt text is probably more accurate. Color contrast, dark turquoise. That's just those are just random words. I don't know about that. No mention of keyboard navigation. These are things I very rarely factor in, but they're good to know. Of course, we want to aim for WCAG 2.1 AA, but maybe our standard becomes AAA, or maybe it becomes just AAA, but we're more consistent in verifying our contrast ratios and making sure that screen readers would be able to read the site. And then yes, I agree with this as well. Proper headings. SEO, that's not the official domain name, so that's not a factor. No clear page title. I thought there was, but maybe not. Missing meta description and title, so that is right. No apparent blog or content strategy. No visible internal linking structure. Blog might be worth adding. A single page, yeah, that's going to improve. Upcycling canvas is highly specific, good, but volume may be low. There are other keywords we could add to that as well. SEO recommendations. Greencraft.eco, you don't get much better than that. Overall, it seems to have passed the test. Other recommendations, highs, unique positioning, mission driven, clear environmental social impact, circular lows, no product visible, no proof of concept. These are more to-dos than anything, rather than a critique on our current site. Areas of improvement, definitely some good options there too. I would pull these out as to-do items. If I was actually developing this thing and seeing it through, with my next 4 hours or 3 hours of the day, if I wanted to put in a full shift of just vibe coding, which is awesome, an 8-hour shift of vibe coding, considering you can do the whole thing from your cell phone, or most of it anyway, and then do the tweaking. The actual development of the idea, that part of the vibe coding you can do from your phone, as I do all the time on my treadmill. But the actual building and development part, you need to sit down at a computer and do. I don't know if you can do that viably from a phone. Content additions, there's some other to-dos, so I'd pull those out as well. Trust building for sure. And then future-proofing opportunities. I'd like to go over these real quick. Subscription model, not sure how that would work. I'd look at a discovery box. I love that. Corporate partnerships, yes. Actually partnering with the actual cannabis brands and maybe having our artists do some art for their packaging. Ooh, that could be good. Yeah, I'm seeing all kinds of different opportunities there now. Workshops, DIY upcycling events, I love that. Wholesale for sure, licensing, NFTs, maybe carbon credit program, yes. B2B cleaning service, that's an interesting idea. A sister company. Expand materials, artist marketplace, yes, that's a definite for sure, that's going in there. Marketing recommendations would be super easy. I'm not even worried about that part. Anything else? Legal considerations, yes, I mentioned that before. Competitive landscape, not so much. I did research it, and you would be surprised to know that I haven't found anything. What makes this different from upcycling? The niche. Why not just buy tins wholesale? Because they're not as cool as ours, and they're not made by locals, and they're not helping for the ecological concerns. Financial projections needed, I agree, the elephant in the room. This website looks like a concept pitch deck, and that's exactly what it is, so I picked up on that, more than an actual operating business. It's a prototype, and he knew. The lack of products, launch date, email capture for early, founding story. I love that it added score here. So concept, 8 out of 10. I totally agree. I wouldn't give it a 9 or a 10, but I wouldn't give it a 7, so 8 is dead on. Execution, 3 out of 10, needs significant development. We've only developed 3 out of 10, like 30 to 40% or 50% of the site. The rest of the 40 to 50%, 60% comes from the actual assets that we build from running the business, such as the testimonials, the marketplace, the artist profiles, the success stories, the case studies. That all comes with time. Communication, 6 out of 10, clear intent, missing proof, so that just more copy, not that the copy's bad. The copy's good, we just need more volume. And then less text heavy on one page, more spread out. Technical SEO, that will come with more copy. And viability, promising but unproven, I would have to agree. Once the site and core concept and business proposal, which we won't have time to do, but basically all I would do is just take all the information from all of our chats, everything we talked about this business, website, everything, and come up with a business proposal. Right now, I wouldn't actually even do that because the core site, the ideas, everything needs to be built out more. If that was built out, it would be very easy to come in and get these all up to 8 and 9 out of 10, and then build a business proposal. So that's where I would end with it. And speaking of endings, I'm glad we went through it because there's a lot of good information in there. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Look at what we came up with. This is amazing. From just a few hours ago, having the idea of, well, why don't I use this tin? Because the tin is actually quite good quality. It's childproof, it's solid, it's made of metal, it's not plastic, it's fairly durable. Store credit cards in there, use it as a wallet. $5 wallet, $10 wallet with a locally made artist rendition on it. That's pretty cool. And then that got me thinking, well, what about jars? What about glass? There's little vials, right, that you can buy. And that could be used for all kinds of things. Tinctures, right? My wife today was making vanilla bean tincture. And those little containers for oil, it's the perfect container to recycle. So the idea is sound. There's definitely a need there. We're solving a problem. We're helping the environment. It's all pointing towards promise. And then we put it to the test. Can we solidify this idea? Can we externalize it? Can we bring it down out of the clouds and onto the ground? Can it stand on its own legs? And in terms of the concept, 8 out of 10. Viability, even 6 out of 10 with barely any work. With 4 hours of work, we're already at a 6 out of 10 viability. This stuff here, even our communication was pretty good. These other things easily remedied by just running the actual business and continuing down the path. All this would come naturally with time. So, can you vibe code your way into a business in 2025 in less than a day? Absolutely. You can actually do it halfway decent, where you make a pretty darn good site. Let's just take another look at this, right? Let's scroll through it and use the anchors here. Artists, right? Instead of this, it would be a nice artist section with maybe a bio, like our artist of the month. Join our partnership program. And then some stats at the bottom. Like, it's exactly what I set out to do. Simple, sleek, to the point, nice logo. Yes, text heavy, but that's only because, first of all, everything's on one page, and secondly, we haven't added our key media assets that's really going to bring this thing to life. We don't need a fancy color palette. We don't need bright colors and gadgets and gizmos and bells and whistles. We have the message that speaks to the heart of the visitors, and then we're going to have entire galleries and carousels of beautiful pictures and artwork to showcase and a nice shop. I'm already getting into this. Is a make-believe business, and I'm already into it. Like, I want to keep developing it. That's when you know you're onto something. So I'll end it there. Hopefully you see what's possible and what you can do and how much fun it is, right? The only reason I'm able to do these kind of things and stay up all night coding, which would have been conventional coding, pretty boring, mind-numbing, and not challenging. It's just a lot of data entry and, quite honestly, pretty grueling. I didn't enjoy coding back in the day, or even recently when I've had to do it for myself or for work. I sure enjoy it now. And this is only what the free tools can do. Imagine what something like Replit or Cursor or some of these other apps and AI services that are coming out, these coding apps that are going to blow these other services out of the water. You're going to be able to talk to it. That's the next thing. Or soon enough, it'll be able to read your mind. That's a little scary. But to do what I do with Claude, to build the entrepreneurial framework for the business, I can do that already with my phone, which is fantastic. I walk 10,000 steps every day, about an hour. The whole time I'm on with Claude or with whatever, like developing ideas, developing apps as I'm exercising. That's real multitasking. The time is going to come very soon where you're going to be able to do the same exact thing, developing the idea of the app. You're coding with your voice. It's practically here. I can do it with Claude. It's just I can't easily implement right now with free tools. and have it actually build the files and then upload and all that stuff. There's still manual input, but again, I have to remind you, we're at about 3 hours and 45 minutes. When you see the final version of these videos, it's going to be trimmed down significantly, so the videos are not representative of how much time I've invested today. Think about the time savings and the energy savings in this. First of all, free apps. Secondly, we're at about 4 hours, right? With everything all said and done with my thinking and my considering, let's give it 4.5 hours, worst case scenario. Half a day. Half a day with a couple of breaks here and there to develop the core concept of a business, a website, to do market research, viability research, check on competitors, some marketing, sales and SEO stuff, even domain name research and those considerations, and then just bullshitting with the video, right? This is a business in and of itself, vibe coding. It's just finding the people that need the service, and there's all kinds of different ways. If you go on YouTube now and you type vibe coding, how to find clients, or vibe coding business opportunities, you're bound to find tons of videos on exactly that. Either it's arbitrage of some kind, domain name acquisition, partnering up with people. There's so many different ways you can go with it. Yeah, it's mind-blowing. Considering it was only a half a day and what we got accomplished, I'm pretty happy with it. Hopefully you liked the video. Let me know what you think. I do really appreciate your constructive feedback to keep the channel relevant and on point and make sure we're delivering content that's as high a quality as possible. If you like this type of long form video, please feel free to suggest other topics that we can cover on future videos and series. And with that, I will wish you a good day. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.